The truck sputtered to a halt just as the sun dipped behind the ridge, leaving the road swallowed in that heavy dusk light. I pulled up in my tow rig, gravel crunching under the tires, and saw her there. Jordan Hayes, the basketball captain everyone in town whispered about. She leaned against the hood, arms crossed tight, staring at the engine like it had betrayed her. Her face was sharp with frustration, but something softer flickered when our eyes met. As I hooked up the tow, I glanced inside the cab. A crumpled photo slipped from the visor. 2 women, close. Too close for this town. My gut twisted. She thought I hadn't seen, but now her secret hung between us like engine smoke. I climbed under the hood anyway, the metal warm and oily under my hands, the faint tang of coolant sharp in the air. Time to fix what I could. Dust hung in the air of my garage most mornings, settling on the tools like a second skin. I'd been working this place since I was old enough to rent without cutting my fingers, day in and day out, listening to the hum of engines and the low talk of folks coming through. Our town wasn't much. Wide streets lined with sagging porches, the kind of place where everyone knew your business before you did. I'd fix a farmer's combine 1 hour, patch up a minivan the next, always keeping my head down. People saw me as the reliable one, the hand that got things running again without asking questions. But I watched them all the same. The way old Mrs. Ellis gripped her steering wheel like it was a lifeline, or how the high school kids revved their trucks too loud to cover the quiet fears underneath. Jordan Hayes came up in the gossip like a storm warning. I'd hear it at the counter while pouring coffee black as tar, how she led the girls' team to state last year, all fire and precision on the court. That girl's got scouts watching, they'd say, nodding like it was gospel. But there was always an edge to it. The whispers about her not dating any of the boys from the football squad, how she spent too much time alone after practice. Folks meant it as judgment, but it stuck with me, echoing my own silences. I kept my attractions buried deep, the kind of thing you don't voice in a place where church signs preach louder than sermons. Women like me didn't get stories. We got sidelong looks if we lingered too long anywhere. It was a Tuesday when I first saw her truck falter, right by the practice field on the edge of town. The gym lights buzzed on early that afternoon, casting long shadows over the asphalt, and I was driving back from a call with my toolbox rattling in the bed. Her old Ford, beat up blue, with dents from too many close calls, coughed and died mid-turn, leaving her stranded under the hoop's shadow. She popped the hood herself, ponytail swinging as she poked at the wires, but her shoulders were tense, like the weight of the whole team pressed down on her. A few girls from the squad lingered nearby, laughing at first, then clustering close with questions. I pulled over without thinking, the engine of my rig rumbling low. "Need a hand?" I called, stepping out with my sleeves rolled up, the sun warm on my arms. She straightened, wiping grease on her shorts, and fixed me with those steady brown eyes. Jordan Hayes up close was all lean muscle and quiet intensity, the kind that made the air feel thicker. "It's probably just the alternator," she muttered, but her voice carried that guarded edge, like she was used to handling everything alone. I nodded and leaned in beside her, our arms brushing once. Accidental, but it sent a spark through me I shoved down quick. The engine was hot, belts loose from wear, the familiar smell of rubber and metal filling my nose. As I traced the lines, checking the battery leads, something caught my eye in the cab. The door hung open, and there, tucked under the seat, was a small journal, pages bent, with a photo peeking out. Her with another girl, arms linked at what looked like a game out of town, smiles easy in a way this place never allowed. My breath caught. Was that her secret? The one the gossip hinted at but never named? Attraction like mine, hidden in plain sight. She noticed my pause, her hand slamming the door shut a little too fast. "It's fine," she said, sharper now. "I can call someone." But the truck wouldn't start again, the starter grinding uselessly. The teammates hovered, one whispering loud enough, "Coach is going to kill you if you're late." And Jordan's jaw tightened. I straightened, wiping my hands. "Let me tow it to the garage. No charge for the hookup. It'll be dark soon, and that road's no place to wait." She hesitated, glancing at the girls, who were already drifting back to practice, their eyes on us like we were the next rumor. Finally, she nodded, reluctant, climbing into the passenger seat of my rig. The cab smelled of her, sweat and faint lavender soap, and as we drove, the silence stretched, heavy with what neither of us would say. The journal burned in my mind, her vulnerability laid bare in that forgotten corner. By the time we rolled into the garage, the lights flickering on overhead, I knew this fix was more than metal. It was the start of something pulling us both under the hood of our guarded lives. The garage lights buzzed on as we rolled in, harsh yellow spilling across the concrete like spilled oil. Jordan's teammates had followed in their cars, headlights cutting through the dusk, parking in a loose semicircle under the practice field glow. They spilled out, voices low but sharp, eyes fixed on us as I backed the tow rig into the bay. Whispers carried on the cooling air. "Did you see who she's with? That mechanic girl, always alone in here." Jordan climbed down stiff, her sneakers scraping the floor, and shot them a look that scattered a few back to their vehicles. But the rest lingered, arms crossed, watching like sentries. I killed the engine and grabbed my toolkit, the metal clanging soft against my hip. Jordan hovered by the truck, fingers drumming the fender, her posture all tight lines and held breath. "Just tell me what's wrong," she said, voice flat, but her eyes darted to the cab door, like she worried I'd pull out that journal right then. "Let's see," I replied, keeping it even, sliding under the hood with a flashlight clamped between my teeth. The engine ticked as it cooled, belts sagging loose, the battery leads corroded from too many wet mornings. I traced the alternator first, the one she'd guessed at, but the whine in the starter pointed lower. Timing chain stretched thin, a common killer in these old Fords. My hands moved steady, wiping grime on a rag, the sharp bite of rust and gasoline grounding me. She stood close, heat from her body cutting the chill, but she didn't lean in, just watched, guarded, like every question was a trap. The teammates' murmurs grew bolder outside, one calling out, "Jordan, you ditching practice for truck talk?" Laughter followed, edged with something meaner, the kind that festered in small towns. I caught her flinch, the way her jaw set harder. Gossip like that wasn't new here. It clung to folks like dust on a windshield. I'd heard it about myself. Too handy with tools. Too quiet around the girls at the diner. Never chasing the boys like expected. Kept my head down, attractions buried under layers of grease and silence. But seeing it hit her, the pressure of eyes waiting for her to crack, stirred something in me. Her strength on the court was legend, but here, alone with a broken rig, she looked frayed at the edges. Attracted me in a way that twisted low in my gut, forbidden and sharp. I wondered if she felt it too, that pull towards someone who saw the cracks without judging. "Alternator's fine," I said finally, straightening up, wiping sweat from my brow. The beam caught her face, highlighting the tension in her neck, the faint scar on her chin from some old game. But the chain's slipping. Needs a full teardown to replace. Can't do it tonight. Parts store's closed and it's too deep for a quick fix. Her eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering. "Overnight? I need this truck tomorrow. Game's Friday and coach..." She trailed off, glancing at the teammates still idling outside, phones glowing as they texted who knows what. The pressure hung there, unspoken. Expectations from the squad, the town, all weighing on her like a bad alignment. I knew that weight, the way hiding who you loved made every glance a risk. My own secrets stayed locked in my chest, attractions to women like her glimpsed only in stolen moments, never voiced in this conservative dust bowl. She sighed, rubbing her arms against the drop in temperature. "Fine, but don't touch anything else." Her gaze slid to the cab again, probing, like she thought I'd rifled through her life while towing. The air thickened between us, charged with what she assumed I knew. That photo, the journal, her hidden pull toward women in a place that whispered shame. I nodded, throat tight. Attraction simmering under my skin. Overnight meant time alone tomorrow, her waiting while I worked. The garage would echo with that tension, forcing us closer than either wanted. But as she turned toward her teammates' cars, silhouette sharp under the lights, I felt the pull deepen, inevitable as a seized engine. Morning light slanted through the garage doors, catching dust motes in the air like scattered ash. I started early, the truck's hood propped open, engine bay a tangle of belts and bolts waiting for my hands. Jordan arrived just after, her steps echoing off the concrete, still in practice gear, ponytail damp from a quick shower. She leaned against a workbench, arms crossed, eyes on me as I pulled the timing cover. The chain inside was frayed, links stretched thin from neglect, rattling loose like unspoken words. I worked methodically, ratchet clicking steady, the metallic tang of lubricant sharp on my tongue. Sweat beaded on my forehead, dripping onto the fender, but I felt her gaze heavy, probing. As I loosened the bolts, a small envelope tumbled from the glove box, landing face up on the seat. It was unsealed, a letter peeking out, handwritten, intimate, signed with a woman's name I didn't recognize. My fingers paused on the wrench, heart thudding low. Another clue to her world, hidden in the truck's guts like a secret compartment. I shoved it back quick, but not before the words, "I miss you here," burned into my mind. Was this her escape? Letters from someone outside this town's chokehold? Attraction like mine, fierce and forbidden, reaching across miles? I kept working, chain slipping free with a final yank, but the air felt thicker now, charged with what I'd glimpsed. "You always start this early?" she asked, breaking the silence, her voice low but curious. She shifted closer, hip against the door frame, the faint scent of her soap cutting through the oil. "Engines don't wait," I said, wiping my hands on a rag, the cloth rough against my skin. "And neither does the road." I fed the new chain in, links clinking soft, aligning the gears with careful turns. Our eyes met for a beat, and something sparked. Shared understanding, maybe, of lives boxed in by dirt roads and prying eyes. She nodded, glancing out at the empty lot. "This place, it gets small fast. Everyone knows you're shot before you take it." Her words hung there, laced with the weight of isolation. I knew that ache, the way small towns pressed in, gossip weaving through fences like barbed wire. My own days blurred in this garage, attractions buried under hoods and hitches, women glimpsed in passing, but never touched. "Yeah," I replied, voice steady as I torqued the bolt. "Feels like the horizon's always just out of reach." The conversation flowed then, halting at first like a seized piston warming up. She talked about drives out to the county line, windows down, radio low, chasing quiet from the team's endless chatter. I shared bits of my routine, nights alone with the radio static, fixing what broke while my own edges frayed. The chain seated true, gears meshing smooth, but her shoulders eased a fraction, like the talk loosened something deeper. For a moment, the garage felt less like a cage, more like common ground, our isolations mirroring each other in the dim light. Then the door banged open, teammates spilling in like a sudden gust. 3 of them, laughing loud, phones in hand. "Jordan, coach said you're slacking. Hold up with the grease monkey?" The tallest one, with braids swinging, smirked, eyes raking over me. "What's the holdup? Or is this your new timeout spot?" They clustered close, teasing sharp, words laced with that small-town edge. Hints at why she wasn't chasing boys, why she fixed her own truck instead of flirting at the diner. Gossip fodder, fresh and biting, fueling the fire of what they suspected about her. Jordan's face hardened, jaw clenching like a locked gear. She shot me a look, suspicion flaring. Did I tell them? Had I spilled what I saw? "It's just a repair," she snapped at them, but her voice wavered, probing me now with a sidelong glance. "Right? Nothing else holding it up." I straightened, rag twisted in my fist, denial rising quick. "Just the chain. Slipping bad, but it's in now." Heart pounding, I met her eyes, willing her to see I hadn't touched her secrets, hadn't breathed a word of the photo or letter. But she stepped closer, voice dropping. "You sure? Because if you saw something personal..." The teammates hovered, whispers buzzing like flies, their teasing turning the air toxic. She wanted answers, probing deeper, assuming I'd uncovered her pull toward women, the letters that betrayed her in this judgmental dust. I shook my head, firm but quiet. Didn't see a thing, engines only. But the lie sat heavy, my attraction to her twisting tighter, unspoken. The teammates laughed once more, dragging her toward the door with promises of practice drills. But she lingered a second, eyes searching mine. The distraction failed, Instead of easing, it pulled us into a private beat. The garage emptying, just us and the hum of the cooling engine. Her hand brushed the doorframe near mine, electric, leading to a moment alone, tension coiling like a spring. The garage settled into quiet after the teammates left, their laughter fading like exhaust in the wind. Jordan lingered by the workbench, fingers tracing the edge of a scarred toolbox, her posture easing just a notch. The engine ticked softly under the hood, cooling from the work, and I wiped my hands again, the rag gritty with residue. "You hungry?" I asked, nodding toward the back room where I'd stashed a thermos and sandwiches from the diner. Ham on rye, nothing fancy, but solid after a morning's labor. She hesitated, eyes flicking to the door as if expecting more interruptions, then shrugged. "Yeah, practice ran long." We ate at the side table, the metal legs scraping faint on concrete, steam rising from the thermos coffee like morning fog off the fields. The sandwich bread was soft, mustard sharp on my tongue, grounding the moment. She picked at hers, knees bumping the table leg once, accidental but close. Conversation started slow, about the team, how the point guard always deferred to her calls, the center who baked cookies after wins but froze under pressure. "They're tight," she said, voice low, almost fond. "But it's like herding cats sometimes. Everyone wants the spotlight, but they lean on me to hold it steady." Her words carried the weight of leadership, the way she steered them through drills, her shots swishing clean through the net. I listened, nodding, picturing her on the court, body coiled and sure, sweat tracing lines down her neck. It mirrored my days here, piecing engines back to life, but hers felt exposed, under lights and eyes. As we talked, her phone buzzed on the table, screen lighting up with a teammate's name. She silenced it, but another followed. Then a call she let ring once before answering on speaker by mistake. "Jordan, where you at? Coach is pissed. You missed the last set." The voice was the tall one from earlier, braids probably swinging as she paced. "And who's that mechanic? Folks at the diner are talking, saying you two were holed up all morning, like, alone." Laughter crackled through the line, edge sharper now, the gossip uncoiling like a loose belt. Jordan's face tightened, fork pausing midair. "It's nothing. Truck's fixed soon. Tell Coach I'll run extras." But the collar pressed, voice dropping conspiratorial. "Come on, we've seen how you look at her. Not like the guys. Small town's small, girl. People notice." The call cut, leaving static hum. But the words hung, thick as oil smoke. She set the phone face down, jaw working silent, frustration bleeding through in the way her shoulders hunched. I poured more coffee, the liquid dark and steaming, giving her space but not too much. "They mean well," she muttered finally, but her eyes said otherwise. "Always pushing, like I need to fit their picture. Date the quarterback, smile for the scouts, keep the team golden. But it's exhausting, pretending every play's just about the win." Subtle, the way she said it. Frustration laced with something deeper. The expectations wrapping tight around her like rusted chains, pulling at her hidden pulls, the attractions she buried under rebounds and free throws. I knew that grind, the local chatter that twisted solitude into suspicion, teammates' jabs hinting at why she dodged the boys, why her laughs stayed short at dances. Empathy swelled in my chest, mirroring my own closeted edges. The way I'd watch women in town, cooks at the cafe, riders on horseback, feelings locked behind wrenches and welds. "Sounds like the ridge after rain," I said quiet, breaking bread crust between fingers. "Everything shifts underfoot, but you keep moving or get stuck." She met my gaze then, brown eyes steady, a flicker of recognition passing like a shared spark. The gossip's escalation pressed in, overheard words fueling her doubt. Did I know? Had I heard the whispers too, connecting her letters and photos to the truth she hid? But in that beat, over cooling sandwiches, our isolations brushed close, her frustration echoing mine. Attraction simmered low, unspoken, in the garage's dim corners. I cleared the plates, stacking them rough, the clink echoing soft. "Truck's ready," I said, wiping the table with a damp cloth, the scent of soap cutting grease. Engine purred smooth now, chain tight, no rattles left. But as she stood, testing the key in the ignition, the hum filled the space, our eyes locking over the hood. The mechanical fix was done, but the emotional gears ground slow, stalled by suspicions and unsaid wants. She nodded, reluctant to leave, the air between us thick with what neither could repair yet. "Thanks," she murmured, hand lingering on the door, pulling us toward whatever came next. The engine caught on the first turn, a low rumble that vibrated through the frame, steady now with the chain holding true. Jordan slid behind the wheel, her hands gripping the dash for a beat, then nodded at me over the hood. "Test drive?" she asked, voice edged with that lingering doubt, like she needed to see it run before trusting anything. I wiped my hands on my jeans, the denim stiff with old grease, and climbed in beside her. The cab smelled of fresh oil and her fading soap, close quarters forcing our arms to brush as she shifted into gear. We rolled out slow, tires crunching gravel onto the back road behind the garage, the sun hanging low, casting ridges in sharp shadow. The truck pulled smooth, no hesitation in the turns, but she drove tense, knuckles white on the wheel. Conversation started halting, about the fix, the way the chain had worn from hard miles, dust clogging the works. But it veered quick, her words tumbling out like loosened bolts. "This truck's all I got for getting away," she said, eyes on the horizon. "Practice runs late, team's always on me, and the house, it's too quiet after." Vulnerability cracked through, her voice dropping on the last, hinting at nights alone, pressures closing in from the squad's endless drills and the town's watchful eyes. I nodded, feeling the pull in my chest. My own escapes limited to late shifts here, attractions buried under hoods, women like her glimpsed but untouched. She eased off the gas at a straight stretch, the engine humming even. "You ever feel trapped? Like every move's watched?" Her gaze flicked to me, probing deeper, and I saw the fear there. Teammates' jabs replaying, gossip weaving her solitude into something shameful. My throat tightened, closeted truths rising like heat from the dash. "All the time," I admitted quiet. "Fixing things keeps the questions away." But as I spoke, her phone buzzed again, insistent, and she glanced at it, teammate texts lighting the screen. "Pull over," she muttered, stopping abrupt on the shoulder, dust settling thick. Before I could ask, headlights swept in behind us. 2 cars from the team, pulling up fast, doors slamming. The tall one with braids led, marching over with arms crossed, the others flanking her like guards. "Jordan, what the hell?" she snapped, peering into the cab, eyes narrowing on me. "You've been gone all day, skipping drills, and now this? Hold up with her?" The words landed hard, laced with accusation, local gossip fueling the fire. Whispers from the diner about Jordan's mechanic friend. Hints at why she dodged dates, why her laugh stayed short. The second girl chimed in, voice sharp. "Coach heard. Said you're distracted, losing focus. Is this why? Some secret thing with the town fixer?" Jordan's face flushed, door creaking as she stepped out, confronting them head on. "It's a test drive. Truck broke, that's it." But her voice wavered, eyes darting back to me, assumption hardening. She thought I'd spilled, that the evidence in her cab, the photo, the letters, had leaked through my hands, exposing her secret desires, the pull toward women that the team now sniffed out. Gossip spread like oil on water, teammates' stares pinning her, isolating her under their judgment. I stayed in the cab, heart thudding against ribs, denial rising hot. "Just a repair," I called out steady, meeting her gaze when she turned. "Nothing else." But the words hung wrong, creating a rift. Her suspicion deepening, misunderstanding twisting like a bent axle. Did I know? Had I seen the proof of her attractions, the hidden notes that betrayed her in this conservative grip? The teammates pressed closer, one muttering loud, "People talk, Jordan. Diner says you two were alone too long. Fix your head before the game." They backed off finally, piling into cars with warnings to show up tomorrow, but the damage stuck. air thick with their echoes. Jordan climbed back in, slamming the door harder than needed, the truck lurching forward as she drove in silence. The confrontation lingered, her assumption a wall between us, my denial only widening the crack. We looped back to the garage as dusk deepened, but instead of dropping me off, she killed the engine in the lot, staring at the darkening fields. "Walk with me?" she asked, abrupt, voice low, stepping out toward the back trail. Night air cooled sharp, crickets starting their hum, and we fell into step, shoulders close, unspoken attraction coiling tighter in the shadows, her vulnerability pulling me like gravity. The trail behind the garage wound narrow through scrub brush, moonlit patches breaking the dark like faint welds in metal. Jordan walked ahead a step, her sneakers scuffing dirt, shoulders still rigid from the teammates' ambush. The air carried chill, sage sharp in my nose, and I matched her pace, hands shoved deep in pockets to hide the tremor. Silence stretched first, broken only by crickets' rasp. But the misunderstanding gnawed, her assumption that I'd glimpsed her secrets, those letters, the photo, hanging heavy as fog off the creek. "About earlier," I started low, gravel crunching underfoot. "The team, they jumped to things. I didn't say anything, didn't see what you think." We paused at a bend, her turning slow, face half-shadowed, eyes searching mine like scanning for leaks in a line. The repair follow-up felt right here, away from the garage's hum, just us and the night's quiet press. I pulled a small flashlight from my pocket, clicking it on to trace a loose rock, grounding my words. "Truck's solid now. Chains tight, no slips. But if there's more, I keep my hands off what isn't mine." She leaned against a fence post, wood creaking faint, arms crossing tight over her chest. "You say that, but they know. The way they looked at us, like I confirmed every whisper." Her voice cracked once, frustration bleeding through, the gossip spread hitting harder now, isolation creeping in as teammates pulled back, texts going unanswered, drills run without her lead. I saw it in her stance, the way the team once buoyed her now frayed edges, leaving her adrift in their judgments. Local talk had twisted quick, diner murmurs reaching the court, painting her distractions as something shameful, her hidden attractions fuel for the fire. I stepped closer, the beam catching dust motes swirling. Trust built slow, like torquing a bolt just right, and I let my own walls crack a fraction. I get it. The watching eyes, the questions you dodge. I've buried things too, feelings that don't fit this town's lines. Women, not the ones they expect. Keeps me up at night, wondering if a look gives it away. The words hung raw, my closeted parallel out there, mirroring her isolation, hoping it'd bridge the gap. The air thickened, her breath visible in the cool, and for a beat, her eyes softened, recognition flickering like a spark in dry grass. But she pulled back sharp, shaking her head, fence post groaning under her weight. "Don't. You don't know me. Sharing your story doesn't fix this, doesn't erase what you might have seen in the cab." Rejection landed like a dropped wrench, cold and echoing, stinging deep in my chest. Her walls slammed up, suspicion winning over the pull I'd felt on the walk. Her isolation deepening as she turned away, steps quickening toward the garage lights. I followed silent, the night's chill seeping through my jacket, forcing me to confront the ache. Attraction coiling tighter, not just to her strength on the court, but the vulnerability she guarded fierce. My hands itched for tools, for something to fix. But this misunderstanding ground deeper. Try failing hard, leaving me raw under the stars. We reached the lot wordless, her truck idling now under the floodlight, engines hum a steady pulse. She climbed in without looking back, taillights fading red into the dark. Alone again, the garage loomed empty, my reflection warped in the window glass. The gossip's web tightened, teammates' distance a prelude to worse, and the upcoming game loomed like a seized piston. Friday night under the lights, where her every move would crack open or break. Game night lights blazed over the field house, harsh white cutting the Friday dark, the crowd's roar seeping through the walls like distant thunder. I'd closed the garage early, but the pull dragged me here, standing in the shadowed lot with keys jangling in my pocket. Jordan's truck sat crooked by the curb, hood still warm from a rushed drive, But as she killed the engine after pulling up, it coughed once. Final. Symbolic. The chain held, but something deeper seized. Radiator hissing faint steam. Overheating from the frantic miles she'd pushed it. She slammed out, jersey half-tucked, ponytail frayed, eyes wild under the floodlights. The breakdown mirrored her, running hot, edges fraying under pressure. The fix I'd given cracking just when she needed escape most. Teammates swarmed from the gym doors, voices sharp over the buzz of warm-ups inside. The tall one with braids led, arms waving like signals in fog. "Jordan, you're late again?" Coach is ripping into everyone, says your head's not in it. They circled her by the truck, bodies close, judgment spilling out in the open air. And this mechanic thing? Diner's full of it. You skipping drills, holing up alone. Folks say you're distracted, chasing something weird. Whispers turned loud, laced with small-town venom, gossip uncoiling full now. Hints at her not dating boys, her quiet after games, twisted into proof of something off, something that didn't fit their straight lines. The second girl jabbed a finger toward the cab. "We saw the truck towed. What'd you find in there? Your little secrets making you soft on the court?" Jordan's back stiffened against the fender, steam curling up like breath in cold. Her hands clenching the door handle, white-knuckled. The public weight crushed. Teammate stares pinning her under the lights. Isolation complete, as their support curdled to accusation. I stepped from the shadows, gravel shifting under my boots, unable to stay back. "Truck's overheating," I said low, nodding at the hood. "Pushed too hard. Let me check the lines." But eyes turned on me, the group tightening. Braids girl sneering. "This her? The one everyone's talking about? Stay out of it. Jordan's messing up the team because of you." She spun then, facing me full, brown eyes burning through the glare. The demand came raw, voice cutting over the team's murmurs. "What do you know? Tell me now. What'd you see in the cab? The photo? The letters? You act like you didn't, but they all think you spilled." Her words cracked the air, probing deep, assumption boiling over into confrontation. Teammates hovered, feeding the fire with nods and whispers. Gossip's grip tightening, painting her vulnerabilities as weakness, her hidden pulls as the team's downfall. My throat closed, the garage's isolation flashing back, my own closeted ache rising like coolant overflow. I met her gaze, steady, heart thudding against ribs like a loose flywheel. "I saw enough to know you're carrying heavy, but I didn't tell. Didn't touch what wasn't mine." The steam thickened, engine ticking protest, symbolic of her fraying edges. She stepped closer, away from the group, voice dropping, fierce. "Then why do they look at me like this? Like I'm broken because I don't chase their boys, don't play the part. It's because of you seeing, knowing I'm..." She trailed, breath hitching, the revelation spilling out raw under the lights. Attracted to women. Not just anyone. Women like me. Like you, maybe. Hidden it forever. But the truck broke, and now it's all out. Because you fixed it, and saw. The words landed heavy, her secret bare in the charged air. Attraction to women the core, twisted by teammates' judgments and gossip's web. The group shifted uneasy, Braids girl muttering, "What?" But Jordan ignored them, eyes locked on mine, raw honesty cracking her walls. Vulnerability poured out, mirroring my buried truths, the pull between us igniting sharp in the steam's haze. Teammates backed off, slow, whispers scattering like gravel under tires, leaving us alone by the hissing truck. Her shoulders dropped a fraction, the confrontation shifting, resolution stirring in the quiet truth we'd both voiced. The game horn blared distant, but here, under the lights, our hidden lives brushed close, mending starting in the open wound. The steam from the hood curled lazy into the night, mixing with our breaths as the teammates' footsteps faded toward the gym doors, their whispers swallowed by the crowd's distant roar. Jordan stood there, chest rising uneven, her revelation hanging raw between us like a stripped wire, exposed, sparking. Her eyes held mine, wide with the weight of it all, the gossip's pressure finally cracking her open. "That's it," she said, voice low and ragged, leaning against the truck's fender, metal still warm under her palms. Attracted to women. Always have been, but here, it's like admitting you'd rather walk than drive. They sense it. The team, the town. Pokes at you until you bleed. I step closer, gravel shifting soft under my boots, the floodlights casting our shadows long and tangled. My own confession rose unbidden, the closeted knot in my gut loosening like a rusted bolt giving way. I know that road, I murmured, hand brushing the hood near hers, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat. Buried it deep, same as you. Watched women from afar, farmers' daughters, quiet ones at the feed store, but never said it. Garage keeps me hidden, tools in hand, but the silence weighs like a bad hitch. Teammates' jabs, diner talk. It grinds you down, makes every glance a risk. The words spilled steady, mirroring her ache, our hidden lives brushing in the charged air, gossip's web tightening around us both, but binding us now, too. She nodded slow, fingers flexing on the fender, the faint tremble there echoing my own. The pressure from the squad hung heavy, their judgments lingering like exhaust fumes, isolating her further, but pulling me in as ally. They used to have my back, she said, voice cracking once, eyes flicking to the gym where lights pulsed with the game's rhythm. Now it's all side eyes, whispers about why I skip the dances, why I fix my own rig instead of flirting. Feels like the team's turning, scrutiny closing in like a seized brake. I saw the fray in her, the captain's armor dented by local eyes that twisted her strength into suspicion, her attractions into scandal. But in that beat, under the hissing radiator, a tentative alliance formed. Two women against the town's grind, shoulders aligning without a word. I popped the hood again, the latch clicking sharp, and traced the hoses with steady hands, coolant low from the overheat, a quick top-up needed. Like this truck, I said quiet, pouring from the jug, liquid glugging dark into the reservoir. Push too hard, it binds up. But you bleed the air, tighten the clamps, and it runs true again. Mends the barriers inside, lets the flow start. The metaphor hung simple, tying our confessions to the work. Personal walls like warped manifolds, gossip the clog, but honesty the fix. Easing the pressure one turn at a time. She watched my hands move, grease-streaked and sure, and something shifted in her stance, tension uncoiling like a released belt. Yeah, she breathed, stepping around the hood, our arms brushing now, deliberate and electric. Maybe we bleed it together. No more hiding alone. The words carried hope, fragile as new welds, a step toward openness in this dust-choked place. Her hand found mine then, calluses rough from dribbles and drives, squeezing once, firm, anchoring. Attraction simmered low, not rushed but deep, our closeted worlds merging in the night's hush. The game's cheers swelled distant, but here, by the cooling engine, we stood allied, mending starting slow. Teammates might whisper, town eyes pry, but this felt solid, a hopeful pivot toward whatever road lay ahead, shared and uncharted. The radiator settled, no more hiss. The truck's frame steady under the lights. Jordan closed the hood with a soft thud, our eyes meeting again, the alliance sealed in that quiet beat. It wasn't fixed overnight, but the barriers cracked, letting light in. We'd face the scrutiny side by side, attractions no longer buried but acknowledged. A tentative path opening through the small-town haze. Dawn broke soft over the ridge as we drove her truck together, horizon pulling us forward, engine humming true. Silence had a sound then. Peace, hard won. If you've carried secrets like these, share them below. Subscribe for more stories of finding each other in the quiet.